Hello. I am super nervous about this. Oh god, I haven't done something like this before. Oh, super nervous. I almost didn't do this. I don't know. I told myself I wasn't gonna delete it afterwards. I don't want to. Super nervous about this. I don't know how long this will go for. You can leave at any time. It will be up. I will try to keep it up as much as possible. Yeah, so it should be good. It should be good. We're just gonna do like a simple analysis. It's gonna be muted, so the animation will be muted. I'm doing SAD-ist. I'm doing SAD-ist Hog Hunt, the new one that came out on Friday, I think it is. Yeah, I've been wanting to do stuff like this, but I'm always scared that either people won't like it or that that it's like disrespectful. I'm gonna try to be as most respectful as I can during this for SAD-ist, because all credit goes to her, of course. But I am going, so it's gonna be muted. I'm gonna have low music playing on because I need music to focus. If you haven't seen SAD-ist, new Hog Hunt, it's amazing. It's gonna be amazing, and it is amazing. This is more me just analyzing and like being like, this is what I saw in this scene. This is what I see in this scene. This is how I think the shot was laid out. This is why the shot works. This is how I believe it doesn't work. Everything like that. So, yeah, I try to do it later, because I don't know how long this will go for, and I'm probably gonna get a little weird, but it's probably fine. It's gonna be okay. Keep telling myself that, right? And we're gonna get into this. I got like a little like sketch tool that I downloaded, which lets me draw on the screen, which is gonna be great. I think they use it in like analysis on gameplays and everything. We're using this analysis on this. I've done like a little bit of this before. When I was basically, I was recording this for another thing, and then I was like, oh shoot, I think better on live streams, so we're gonna do that. So go watch. Yeah, make sure you're subscribed to SAD-ist. Subscribe. I know that most people are already, but subscribe to SAD-ist. We're not gonna be watching the full thing of Hog Hunt, so if you're looking for that, that will not be happening here. We're gonna be going shot by shot. If SAD-ist at any point is like, delete this, we're deleting it. No questions asked. Gone in a heartbeat. Okay? Getting all the stuff out of the way. Okay. I think that is about it. Static should be around in case anyone see the new Ghostbur animation. Static might have. I'm not quite sure on that one. But yeah. Static will be around in case if I mess up the animation term. Because I'm technically a storyboarder, not an animation, but I have spent time in the animation community. So I do know a bit about that. And yeah, let's switch screens and get into this. Okay. This is gonna be so weird to start. Okay. Oh my god. I can't believe I'm doing this. Yeah. Let's pause that first. I got the subtitles on so we can tell what's happening during it. We're gonna start. Turn the music down a bit more. Okay. So, basic warning screen, right? You get the basic thing. This is the first shot, right? With Ghostbur. This is a beautiful shot. brings your eye. So there's going to be a lot of composition talk because I love composition. And I love these lines across the screen and all of the effects going this way. It is very nice flow, but also his head's rising up here. So it's breaking your flow. That's why you focus here. So this is your point of view, your eye. Technical terms elude me at the moment. But this is your focal point. So this is your focal point, right? And your focal point, let me fucking change the music, it sucks. Okay. So that's basically your focal point, is him raising, and you automatically, with every image, just as this is an artist thing, you focus on the eyes. You focus on the eyes. That's why every artist draws eyes at some point in their life. They draw eyes because your eye immediately goes to the eyes, which kind of makes sense. But that's why all these lines can move across the screen, and you can just focus on his face. That's very nice. That means your focal point is here. I'm probably gonna leave like dots on the face for this focal point. Hello! How are you? We're just doing analysis. So then, basically, this is what I noticed a lot when I first watched it. SAD-ist in this uses a lot of these curves. You'll notice a lot of her compositions in this, especially in this animation, moves across the screen like this. So she'll lead your eye from here across to here. She does this too. So like if we were saying like Ghostbur, like your eye was here, you would have come up from this, followed the rooftops over to the words. And we have some break in composition with this post here. But that is important to give like an establishing shot of landscape and scenery. SAD-ist uses a lot of locations as characters within this, which is very interesting. And I think that's kind of what breaks apart. Like they do this a lot in film, where they take the location, so the setting it is, and make it a character. They think of the setting or the location or the backdrop as its own character. And I see a lot of artists like usually forget that the background can be a character in itself. And SAD-ist here, especially in this animation, seems to realize that the background is a character. So she'll do this with Lemberg, and she'll do it with Techno's Cabin in the Woods. But just remember this curve because I will bring this up again. Also, light. Your eye goes to the light, and then you follow this curve down to the light. And this post is a very good like marker. Also, text. Your eye goes to what you can read, which is text. Also, all these lines are pointing, which I just realized. All these lines are kind of pointing this way, right? They're all kind of pointing this way, which is very good for leading your eye this way as well. So then we get some movement, right? So SAD-ist does the thing. Well, SAD-ist in this does it more than often. I'm pretty sure this stuff, right, is on one layer, and then this is on a separate layer, and then that's on a separate layer, and then the backdrop and the lanterns are on a separate layer. And she just moves them in different speeds across the screen, giving an illusion of animation when it's literally she's just moving it across. Like she drew every separate frame, but she's just moving the set across. This is a cool shot. This is a cool shot because she only draws the anvil once, but you feel like it's being more. You feel like there's more happening here. So you have this anvil, right? And it's only drawn once in this. And you also have this shadow. So she does have her name over here, but the light on this side is guiding you this way. And the light, the shine on this, right? The shine on the anvil makes your eye focus on this. It's almost like it's like the moon in the night, right? You focus on the moon because it's the brightest thing in the night. You focus on the shine because it's the brightest thing on this side of the canvas. And then you focus on the anvil. These lines are also very good guiding lines for your eye to be drawn to the anvil because it brings you from the bottom of the canvas up. And this line even brings you down, right? So, But this is a really cool technique here. What she does with the anvil is whenever it's being lifted, she blurs it, which gives you an illusion that it is being animated. But it really, she's just kind of like moving it upward in this kind of arc position. She's moving it slightly this way, but then also up, which, but whenever she pulls it up, she gives you this blur effect. Also, SAD-ist does this thing, and she did this with this techno and dream duel. She knows the idea of weight, so she'll lower it and then bring it up further. And that's kind of, you can do that with, like, if you think pulleys, when you're pulling a weight up, right? It always lowers while you pull on this end, right? And then it brings back up when you pull harder, you know? It's that give and take sort of energy, and that's very important, and a lot of animators forget to do that. But it is, because you feel this weight, and it just doesn't, a lot of people would just bring it straight up, or bring it to do that curve, but she brings it down and then up, which just gives that extra weight sort of feeling. But she'll bring it down, bringing it in focus, then she'll bring it up, which blurs it until she gets to a point, right? And then she brings it back down, which brings it more in focus. So it's like it's pulling away from the viewer, which we are the viewer, right? Here's the camera, right? Here's the camera. So as it gets closer to the camera, it gets more in focus. As it gets further away, it leaves focus. And that's very interesting that she does that. And this is a very cool shot. So it leads right into it. So your eye is focusing on here because it's blurred out. So since it's blurred out, your eye kind of focuses on this general area. So then when we shoot to Tubbo, it's not a very hard movement of your eye to get to Tubbo. And you focus immediately on Tubbo. You don't even have to look for whatever you're supposed to focus on. And even these curtains back here help, and the flags help. It basically, instead of your canvas being this, right, this whole screen, SAD-ist has basically limited your canvas to just this shot, and it's very easy to focus on Tubbo. And also these lights are basically pointing towards Tubbo, so even if you get lost, you focus back on Tubbo. And even this is all blurred out, so you want to find the stuff that's in focus. So let's say your eye point is there. See, you zoom into Tubbo, all of this gets into focus. It's like you're stepping closer to Tubbo. You're coming closer. So instead of being far away, you're getting closer. This is still a little bit blurred out because she wants you to focus on Tubbo, but you get this larger light that's pointing towards Tubbo a bit more. You get this light coming down. You get these contrasting colors, right? You get the purple and then the yellow, which are very good complementary colors that makes Tubbo stand out so much more. Because if you put him on a purple background, he wouldn't have stand out. It would have been a lot more work to get you over there. But since it's a complementary color, you can focus on it more. And this light actually moves up, so it kind of like follows the viewer's eye line, if you could say. Like this light started down here, but as you step forward, it moves up. So it's kind of like the horizon line up here, I would say. Yeah, it looks about where the horizon line would be. So that's very interesting that that's kind of where the horizon line would be if we just put a dot here, right? Yeah, that kind of is where the horizon line is. So it kind of just, the light kind of follows up to the horizon line. Yeah, go on. You can do whatever. This is going to probably stay up. I'm just going to go for it, you know? This is a really good shot. I saw a lot of people pointing it out. But I really like this light source here and here. This is what I really saw. Also, these particles also give a very good effect, but we'll talk about those in a sec. I really like this because it breaks up this space she could have just left it all purple and it would have worked like just fine. But since she's breaking up this space, we are guided to this area. So when the axe comes into focus, right, we are, since it's mainly like purple, again, that's complementary colors right here, the axe stands out and the shine stands out, right? And then this glow stands out because it's a more opacity, it's higher opacity of light than up back here. You also see Tubbo's face a lot easier. Because without that, you would have been like, ooh, hand, ooh, axe blade, ooh, blade, you know? But since your eye isn't really moving from the center of the screen and the space is broken up, she doesn't have to worry about backdrop to break up your eye. She can just do it with color, which is very interesting, and I love that. Also, she pulls these... You'll notice this in every SAD-ist animation, and it's just part of her style of animation. She has particles, right, that move across the screen. And mostly, I think she does that for composition reasons. They basically help you stay in the composition that she wants, right? So all of these are kind of moving in that, pointing in that direction. She has like 3 here, and then 1 here. She has like 2 here, and then 1 here. She's like 1, 2, 3. It's kind of like pointing you in that direction. I think it's mostly just composition reason. Like she's like, stay in here, stay in this general area, please. And then now with this light, you stay mostly just, basically your frame, instead of the whole frame again, is literally just this, which is very good. You kind of want to limit the viewer's eye to a certain point. And that is very good. So then when he moves the axe, also these lights, they move that way, I think. I think that's the way they move. Yeah. So they move this way. So these lights carry your eye in this direction before the axe is moved in this direction. So by the time the axe moves, you're already looking in this general area. I'm talking so much about composition because this is kind of what I was a junkie on in high school. I was just like, composition is my best friend and I love her. I was wondering if you talk about this. I was wondering if you talk about this. Yeah. So I love how it just moves. I love the eye move. I don't know. Composition is just, I love that. But she moves the light, so then your eye starts moving this way anyways. So then when the axe is finally brought that way, you aren't like jarred by this, like. Alright, so if we keep moving, axe is brought this way, you're already in this general area, so when it flips to this side of Tubbo's eye, you're prepared, and it's not a big movement for your eye, because this light over here was already moving you that way. And you even have this coming in over this way. Also, if we want to go into symbolism, right? Non-damaged part of the face, right? Damaged part of the face. This is past, right? Past, present. If we wanted to get into symbolism, right? So it'd be like the past being like, you even see his expression like harden, right? So it's little cutie, little Tubbo. Expression hardens, and you get like this damaged, sort of tired. You get some bags under his eyes, tired expression. That's very interesting to me that SAD-ist decided to show that in that way. So we'll move on to the next scene. I love this shot, especially with the light coming in here. The light coming in here. You follow, voice crack. You follow this line down here. Your eye, so since it cut to black, your eye didn't know where to go. So it's going to go to the first thing. It's going to go to this like semi-horizon line, right? or the light sources. My eye immediately went to down here, and my eye followed around to the front door and out to Filza because of this broken up. So since she has these vertical lines pointing down, right? Filza's the first one that breaks, like, these kind of lines break that sort of feel. And also the light helps with it. All the diagonal lines point you to light. If you ended up focusing on the window, you can either, your eye would either follow these pillars down to the floor and bring you out to Filza, or it would follow to the table, which would bring you down towards the floor. So what my eye did was I kind of like ended up here, and I traced down and came up to Filza, and I kind of went into this like sweeping motion, kind of like the city, L'Manberg you saw at the beginning. Also, Filza becomes more in focus. We see the cloak wing being not damaged and this part being damaged. I love that. I love that. SAD-ist shows a lot of time passing in her animations. Like we see it with Techno's hair, we see it with Dream's scar across the nose, we see it with Filza's wings / cape, we see it with a couple other things. But it's very cool that she does she implements the passage of time within her animations, which I find brilliant. So you get more focus on Filza, so your eye comes down here. And even SAD-ist added this little like yellow line to draw your eye to it because of the light. Your eye is drawn to light. You're like a bug, but you can control it more. Also, particles. They're moving this way to give hint of animation. Also, the background is moving that way. They're moving in opposite directions to give more hints of animation. This is a great shot. She really likes these sort of curved compositions. And you can see this in a lot of her other animations. She loves just to curve your eye around. So basically, instead of the whole screen again, your composition is this, right? But you feel like you're below Filza. You feel like you're having a worm's eye view on this. Glad. And you're looking up. So with implied narrative storytelling, it's implied that this is the anvil that you were watching at the beginning. And that's very important. Like, you don't want to introduce the viewer to something like this and be like, the viewer's like, wait, what is this post? What is that? Why is the cloud circling? Also, composition, clouds are circling, so your eye doesn't get lost off the frame. Why is there a thing coming out here? With context clues and with context on what was happening earlier in the animation, we can assume that this is the anvil. And with knowledge of the Dream SMP, we know that this is the anvil. But if we're watching this as someone who has no idea what the Dream SMP is, we can assume that's the anvil. Also, I really like the shadow. I noticed this the first time watching it. The shadow is very nice. It's very subtle, but it's very nice because it basically cuts off this side of the canvas. Basically bringing you back to here and circling you around. And that's very nice because she doesn't have to worry about your eye getting lost over here. You can just circle back around here. And I love that. I love when she cuts off the canvas like that. Clouds also help. Yeah, so it's very high. Yes. So statics, yeah. You're right, static. It shows how high it is. You can also use perspective. So it's larger, the base is larger. It gets so small up here. It's basically like that. And that's perspective. And you get perspective here. Filza's not as much perspective. We're kind of in, if I wanted to describe it, like if we put like Filza here, we're kind of like at maybe knee length on Filza. The camera is looking up at Filza, so it's not as much of an exaggeration. But yes, the clouds help give the idea of height, and also we're looking up. That's why your eye focuses on here, if you're wondering. It's because Phil's is looking up and your eyes immediately is like, ooh, what are they looking at? Oh, it's the anvil. So, also the color shift. It goes from very intense to this pinkish purple and this dull yellow. And we get this kind of like shadowy thing. So it's about to transition, right? It's closing in. It's like we're backing out of the doorway, right? We're backing back into the house almost. And you get some gradient down here that makes it sort of disappear. So we're backing back into the house. And what I'm gonna guess is it's almost like the doors are closing on him from the inside. So we're probably in the inside and we were zoomed in and now the doors are closing, leaving him alone on a balcony. Yeah. And that's a good transition. It basically comes across the screen in the opposite direction of that curve. And we get a good transition. Then we've got this tree, which is our next transition, right? It fades into this. This basically tells us we're moving this way. We're like poking out from the trees and we see a house, right? So to break up that line, we get these geometric lines going up. It basically, instead of our eye going all the way across the screen, we come to the house and we kind of just circle around the house, right? And we get that bright light again. And we even get these trees over here to break up it and be like, yep, you're supposed to be here. Look at this house. Look how cool this house is. This house is so important. You should be looking at this house. This is basically what the composition's saying. With this hill, with these trees, with this light hitting the house. It's being like big arrow being like, look at this house, please. Don't look anywhere else. I promise you there's nothing else important. It's just this house. And this is I really like this shot, but I just really like landscape shots. I think this mimics another shot from back in the fall animation. At least to me, it looks very similar to that shot where Wilbur's looking over L'Manberg with the flag burning and Tommy by his side. It mimics that shot. Now this one's definitely closer, but it's that same sort of feel and movement, and it's also like flipped. So it might not mimic it, but I really like that shot, so I just love SAD-ist's landscapes. This is a very good one. I love this transition. Well, I don't like, it's not really it's just a cut, but we move. So this is on a layer. It's moving and moving, right? Or I think it's just this is moving, if I had to guess. And then we get this. This is all out of focus except for these particles moving this way towards the light. All right? But that's not what you focus on in this shot. You're going to focus on the crown because of this bright light against the blue. And that's just, it's very good. And it also moves down. So mostly when you're thinking about viewer experience, the viewer is going to look at whatever's the brightest and whatever moves. I don't know why, but that's what happens. They focus on whatever moves and whatever is the brightest against the background. So this light moving down the crown, your eye is going to focus here or on these particles moving across the screen. I'm going to bet it's focusing on this light because the light is the brightest thing in the scene. Also, with the particles, you're like, wait, what is this? Also, this is in focus, right? If we were talking about the anvil before, it's sort of the same principle. This is in focus. All of this on the outside is not. So you're going to focus on the crown. Even when the crown comes fully in focus, all of this is still sort of out of focus. And even this light kind of guides you up, and the particles can guide you up. I like these lines. Those are good lines. Good line, good line. Pat on back, good line. Also, this is coming up here. And then we get Techno starting his voice lines, right? this is a cool sheet. This is radial perspective. It's a type of perspective where it's basically a circle and everything goes around it. Radial perspective. This is a very good example of it. You don't find much radial perspective. It's very hard to find. But when you find it, it's usually good or it's usually terrible. This is good. This is a good one. Also, nice open space. So basically, she's already directed your eye here. Your eye's not going to probably leave here, even when the raven comes in. Or the crow. It's going to move across the screen, right? She does this thing where your eyes are just staying here. You get this beautiful raven silhouette where you understand it's a raven, even though it's very minimal, right? It's just a curved line, a triangle, little triangle here, and a big wingspan, right? She just drew out the wings basically, and made a little like it's like airplane on the rest of it. Also, these trees are blurred out, so these are your main trees pointing you in the certain direction. But all of them are kind of pointing in the direction. And then she makes a big scene, right? She basically holds the bird here for a long couple seconds, making a huge scene of moving this way. So your eye kind of lingers in this area. So when it shoots off this way, it happens super fast. She skips multiple frames here, basically. So she skips this whole distance, and then the bird leapfrogs to here, and we have some feathers coming down. And those feathers are important, so they kind of loop around coming towards the viewer. This is a very good shot. I love this shot so much. Also, I just noticed, but the frame is moving this way. So the camera is moving this way. It's kind of following this feather, if I gotta be honest. It's following this feather. Yeah, so it's following this feather around. Yeah, you can see the camera move when I go frame by frame here. Right? So it's kind of like center until the bird disappears off screen. And then it starts kind of rotating in like a slow, like kind of... It almost moves like a feather, right? It moves this way, and then it kind of starts moving back this way. So it's kind of moving like a feather down, which kind of gives you more of a feeling that you're wanting to look at this feather. Also, she blurs the trees and blurs it out depending on where the feather is, right? So it's very in focus. You shift, so that's a direction shift, right? So you in focus on the straight line, but as soon as the direction shifts, she makes it out of focus. And then we're focusing on this feather. I think that's very... She uses a lot of focus and like blur in this, and that's very... She hasn't really done that in anything else. She's used opacity lines, but she hasn't really done blur. So that's very good use for like one of the first times she's probably used that. We get another sort of movement like that. And then we get transition to Ghostbur. I think, now this is a wild theory here. I think this animatic isn't just about Technoblade here, but I think it's also about Ghostbur. The song that they use is, the song that SAD-ist uses is called Ghost. I think Ghostbur is supposed to represent innocence or peace in this situation, in this animatic. And we kind of get I'll tell you as it goes along, but at the start of the animatic, Ghostbur lifted his head and kind of formed into existence and opened his eyes. His eyes were like sketchy, right? Sketchy, like twists and turns. I think that was him awakening to like the peace and the innocence and the naive like nature. And I think as this goes on, we see these blood drips, right? Now we know from watching the Dream SMP, this is because Dream left them out in the snow to die. But I think in this animation, it is more of like, Ghostbur is used more as a plot key. Like, you'll see this later on when there's a handprint on the tree. But we get these blue glows. We kind of tilt with the leaves, tilt with the blood. Right? And it kind of like focuses on the blood. Then we get a good old focus on the blood, but we get curved with those feathers in that kind of way. And then we get this glitchy effect over to Ghostbur covered in blue blood, right? I think it kind of I think Ghostbur represents like innocence and like peace within this, and blue is a peaceful color, so it would kind of make sense. That's kind of what I've gotten from this. And with Ghostbur always being covered in like this blue blood and being like always kind of injured, it kind of shows this, like, to me at least, right? It shows this sort of, this wound to peace, like it is injured, or it's like if we were gonna like personify peace, right? Peace is like stable, was stable in the SMP before the Hog Hunt. Then when Quackity and Turbo and Fundy all decided to do the Butcher Army, we all knew that the peace was going to be unstable. Kind of like if you're hurt or you're bleeding out, right? You're going to be a little bit unstable. I don't know. I think Ghostbur's more of a symbol in this than a character. We even see this. It focuses on the blue blood rather than Ghostbur. Even his lines are faded. Now, that might just because he's a ghost, but earlier it seemed more like he was more solid. We get him fading out and glitching out. Guys, look, we made it into the animatic, or the animation. We're right there. Look, there's chat. Unless you're not in Phil's chat, then get out of here. But I'm sorry. That's what I thought when I first saw the crow. I was like, guys, we've made it. I really like this. So back to the analysis, right? Yeah, we're all canon in SAD-ist animation, guys. We're good. But I really like this. Your eye focuses on the bright light, right? You're a bug. You're a little moth. You want to focus on the bright light. Then your eye goes out to the solid line of the window frame, and maybe to the bird. But you also follow this light. You follow the shine of the light down to techno. That's kind of why you focus on techno here. You're not really, like, when I first watched this, yeah, I kind of took in the whole scene, but I only took in the things that were giving off light or was reflecting light. Like, I didn't really see this bottle, and I didn't really see this corner. I didn't see, like, this side of I didn't see this cool cross-hatching over here. You only see the stuff that is reflecting the light of the window, because your eye is looking for the light of the window. You're not really seeing his leg down here. You're kind of just seeing this outline of techno. You don't see he has hair on his arms. You don't see that. It doesn't reflect light. So if you're looking to, like, have a big scene like this with your animation, I would say have a light source. Have everything kind of reflecting that light source, right? You don't even really see this because the window, it's not the window's light, it's the blaze-rod light. You kind of see it, and I think it balances the scene more. I think if you didn't have this, it wouldn't balance it as much. But you mostly only see what's reflected by the window, which is this kind of general area. You don't really see over there when you're watching it. But, also, Techno lets his hair down. Yeah! So here's another thing. He has braids. He's a braid boy. And also, his hair's growing out from Dream Duel. It was shorter in the last animation, and now it's longer. One day we're gonna get long-haired techno again, I promise. SAD-ist promised us, right? It's coming. We see it. He's growing his hair out. By the time we get Syndicate, he'll have his hair long again. Right? So, we made it. There was no movement. I just realized. There's no movement in this shot. There's like illusion of movement with the shine that this is spinning. And the scene is moving across the camera. But nothing's actually moving in this scene. Which, even though that's like, the particles might be moving. SAD-ist loves to move her particles. This is also good. I like these particles coming out. They're kind of exploding from the light source. So you know to start moving your eye this way. And also this book and pens help. So your eye doesn't like come down here, right? Your eye kind of comes around and comes up. So you know that he's at the desk with context clues of the crow and the window being here. But with the light kind of moving like that, your eye also moves up there. Also, we get a little bird tilt. So you have him up, and then you have him moving down, which accentuates that curve that you want, that SAD-ist wants you to follow. And the particles are still moving out, like exploding out from the window. Then you get this movement, right? Your eye immediately is already over here because everything's pointing you this way. And then you're like, ooh, your eye's like, is like a little doggy and is like, movement, what's this? Can I see this? What is this movement? I want to see this movement. Give me the movement, you know? So your eye is immediately drawn to the movement. Even though this bird moves back up, it's kind of like if SAD-ist was being like, she moved the bird down, being like, there's going to be movement over there, I promise. And then move the bird back up when your eye was over here, being like, oh yes, see chat, there is movement over here. So the bird is kind of looking in the same direction that you were supposed to be looking. Subtle detail that technically is shorter, was longer here, and shows the past. Yeah. Then it cuts, right? And then we get this nice light, right? It goes all the way yellow and then fades out. A lot of people would have just cut to this, but I think that light shows basically there is light shining in, and you know from the shadows that there's light shining in this way. That light basically shows you, hey, it's bright. It's the same scene that you saw from before with Tubbo overlooking like the sunrise. This is the same shot. This is all happening at the same time, basically. That's basically what shows you that. And your brain is like, yep, that makes sense. Check that off. If SAD-ist didn't have that light, like shock and fade into this, I think your brain probably would have been like, wait, what time of day is this? What's happening? It's just little things that could set your brain off to being confused. Also, the shadow moving across the screen. All she has to do is draw a silhouette, turn it to like multiply or turn down the opacity, and move the shadow across the screen. She doesn't really have to animate, so that's a plus. Whenever you don't have to animate, you're not going to animate. But you also move across. Notice that Wilbur, it's definitely perspective, but Wilbur's picture isn't even drawn. Like, at most, it's a silhouette, right? Schlatt's is the most in focus, and Tubbo's is even though it's closest to us, it is out of focus too. I think that's because it shows that Schlatt still has a hand over everything, and that his sort of moral code of doing whatever you want to get power, as long as it's law-abiding, especially if you're the ruler, whatever you say goes. And it's not really Tubbo anymore. It's more of Schlatt's idealism. And even when you get over in the shadow, basically, as you move across the frame, the shadow moves across the frame, and this gets more in focus. But even here is like, before you could see Schlatt's eye. Here you don't even see Tubbo's eyes. It's just a smiley face. Right? It's just a little smiley face over here. You don't even get eyes. You just get a smile. And you're like, yep, good. And then you get Tubbo, not smiling, with eyes, right? Looking not as happy as before. You get this nice line here, nice light line, where it definitely breaks up the frame. And if you were over here, right? If your eye was over here with Tubbo's picture, you move directly up. You don't even hesitate. Your eye goes light, it follows it up. And you stop at Tubbo because he breaks that line. He breaks that line. So if you instead, like, let's say SAD-ist put the line here, right? Your eye would have gone up and been like, where do I go now? And been gone lost. But since she put the line here and Tubbo breaks that line, your eye, instead of traveling further up, you kind of just stay on Tubbo's face because brain likes faces. It love face. It go burr when it sees face. So you kind of get broken up by this line, the silhouette. And then once you are here, the light goes up, which basically matches the actual shadows that you saw before. And this is a very good transition. I like this. But you see that termination that you saw in the axe reflection from before, so you know this is kind of like the same Tubbo. He brings it over, right? And then you get a good old motion blur, right? And the shine right here, so your eye is kind of following the axe around. Your eye was on Tubbo, your eye follows the axe around, right? You're kind of going in a circle at this point. Your eye's like, okay, I know how a circle works. It goes like this, right? That's what she wants you to think. So then when we get down here, and you can even see the flame here, right? The flame is in that circle kind of pattern pointing back towards Tubbo. It flashes, right? And then you get this sort of, the flame curls towards Tubbo. The axe is curling towards Tubbo. You get Fundy silhouette going towards Tubbo, right? Everything, you'll have the trees going this way. It's all focusing in, right? And that's kind of what you want. You want Tubbo right here to be the main focus because he was in the exact same spot, right? And the flame's still moving, but you get those trees pulling in on these guys. You get Rambo out of focus because he's not really part of the Butcher army here. He's just chilling. You get Fundy looking that chubby, determined. You get Quackity looking mad, more mad than everyone else. In my eyes, Tubbo looks more like accepting that this is what's happening rather than mad or determined. And then you can't really see Rambo's perspective or expression, right? Also, I love that SAD-ist gives him like the Lady Liberty crown, right? Instead of like a normal crown, right? I don't know. I really like that design for Rambo. Also, trees are out of focus, but you can still tell they're trees, right? You're like, yep, that tree. I know that's a tree. Good. Also, particles. Gotta love your particles. Also, the glow. Very helpful to make Tubbo the main character here. Like, Quacky's affected by this glow, but Tubbo, he breaks away from it. So when your eye follows around the glow, you get stuck on Tubbo. You focus on his face, right? That's very good. I love that. I love how just the light is breaking up the background for Tubbo in particular. So your eye's there. And it zooms out, you're still focusing on Tubbo. You kind of focus on everyone else now. Rambo just looks like I have no clue what's happening. Every kind of no animation except for the flame. So then when you get to this scene, your eye makes a very easy movement down to the house because that is the brightest, but you just move quickly down. If you ended up, you'll probably just move down to the house first and then look at the rest of the scene. The trees point inwards, helps you if you get lost. Trees point inwards. Horizon line points inwards. Quackity's hair points inwards. Tubbo and Quackity are both staring at the house. It's all kind of like pointing you towards the house. This house, right? You get your big arrow pointing towards the house. It's very nice. I love that. Even I would argue that Tubbo's hair also points towards the house. You can also get these curves. It's very nice. I really like that. These stars kind of point. I don't know. I think they do. I love how the trees are drawn here. Because if we took this shape by itself, it would just look like a lumpy carrot, right? But in this context, we know that that's a tree. But if you took this and like recolored it to be orange, you'd be like, what the heck is that? But in this context, it looks like a tree. You're like, yep, tree, good, check it. And then we get the house was out of focus, so you could focus on it. And now they're out of focus, but the house is in focus. We also get this large black shape, right? Now we know, if you're part of the Dream SMP, but I'm kind of looking at this as if I don't know anything about the Dream SMP, right? That this is a hill. And we can refer that's a hill because of the rest of the landscape. But also, this is a very good way to break up space because we can see the trees over here being darker. But this is a very good way to break up space because most of this is white and most of this is negative space to indicate snow. But we want to show this is further away, so we make this positive space, which equals the black, right? So the snow, his hair, the sky, most of the house is positive space. Most of the trees are positive, right? But this is negative, and we could be like, well, that's different, so that must be farther away. It's just very simple context clues that if you're going to do like a composition piece, just look for that in your piece. It will save you a lot of time if you can identify what should be negative and what should be positive space in your piece. This is just normal art tips here. Because if you can do that, you can basically set up any landscape and make it work. So, tree is just a bunch of triangles. It's your kindergarten triangles, but like we made them lumpy triangles instead of straight triangles. And then put a little stem at the end, right? That's a tree. And no need to like be like, oh, how you draw a tree. It's just lumpy triangles, okay? Look at these trees. They're simple boys, and maybe she put like a couple lines in it, but simple boys, right? Also house. Square. 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 Triangle. So when you are like drawing landscapes and stuff like this, just break them down into like simple shapes. If I want to do a house here, right? It's literally a square if it's in a square. And then you have the lights on to draw your eye in. Also, these lines are nice to draw your eye into. We cut. This is I love this. This is not my favorite. I say I love this, but I like this transition. I think this shot needs work. Because all the other shots seem a lot more like put together, if that makes sense. And this one feels like she didn't know how to transition it to the next shot. And I'm not faulting her here. Like, I don't know how I would transition this either. But, like, in a really simple way. So, this is probably the best, like, sequence to get. from that scene to the next scene in the quickest way possible. I don't know how many seconds she's got for this, but I think this could have gone better. And I'm no room judge. It works. So, you know, if it works, use it, right? You're not gonna go and buy a fancy sketchbook if printer paper is gonna work. So, if it works, use it. And I think that's what she did here. I think I don't know, maybe she was really happy with this, but this just seems off compared to the rest of the animation. But I do like this gradient, this blue to dark purple, grayish purple to like lilac baby blue to orange to yellow. This is a very good transition and color transition. It basically guides your eye up, following the cloak, following everything. Give them more particles. You know the deal. Cape flip. If you've seen the Dream vs. Technoblade animation, this is basically the same shot. And maybe that's why I have a problem, because everything else seems new, and this seems like the same shot as that. He just has baggier pants now. And I think that's just SAD-ist learning how weight in fabric works a bit better. The same cape, little flip, right? He puts a crown on. It's a very simple shot. You're supposed to look at the doorway. You look at the doorway. You look at Technoblade. You follow the cape up. It's a very simple shot. I don't think I need to spend time on this, so I'm not. I like this shot. This is a very good silhouette, right? You focus on him. You know where his hands are. I think this could have used a bit more animation, but like I think I would tilt these hands in a bit more. This one in particular, it looks like it's in the wrong position. I don't know, this hand looks a bit off. If I was gonna, this is like nitpicking, right? If I was gonna critique anything, this hand looks a bit off. I might have curved this elbow in a bit more. To match this one a bit more. This one feels like it's further out, right? So if I was gonna draw like shoulders, right, here's the head. Hold on. Here's head. Right. And we have the shoulders. We have here's the shoulder muscles. Here's the neck. Here's the neck muscle. This one seems like it comes forward here and comes up here, curving nicely. This one feels like it feels like he's tilting that way, and I think he's supposed to be straight on. I don't know. I just feel like this shot is somewhat wrong, but I think I'm just nitpicking at this point. But this is the only shot that I'm like really like iffy about. Everything else is like perfectly fine in my opinion, and like good and like amazing. So it's your opinion on this. I do like this composition though. This is very good composition. You have the tusk pointing out towards the hands. The hands are on the crown. Your eyes focus in this general area. It's very nice. It's very satisfying. And I think the words match it pretty well too. And we have it drop down to his hands, right? So he opens his eyes. As he opens his eyes, his hands drop. See, this is like up here, it works. It's like not as good, I think. But as he drops his hands, I think it fixes. So it might just be me not understanding like anatomy. Because like here, the hands look fine. Like the arms look fine. So it might just be me. Also, I really like the smoke. I love how she designed the smoke in this one. It looks like smoke in the most minimum way possible. Like, we just have a shape, right? It's literally, you took a pen tool in your program and just like drew a couple of like French curves, right? Like, this is like a French curve tool that I would use in school, right? It's just a stupid curve and it works. That's why it's like, sometimes the simplest things work with art because you just need to give the illusion that oh yeah, that's smoke. You gotta like show the viewer, that's smoke, trust me. And then usually the viewers will be like, okay, sure, whatever, yeah, sure, I'll trust you. But you gotta trust yourself that you're tricking the viewer, right? And that's what SAD-ist did with this smoke. It's just a nice little French curve right here. And then we get this nice, I love these colors that come in, right? So we get like no colors except for the backdrop, right? So it goes from lined, right, to no lines. It's just a silhouette with eyes. And you get this another curve to indicate there's smoke, right? So you go from this shot to this shot, and you know that this comes in. You know the smoke has just covered the screen, right? That's very good. And it's just a silhouette at this point. The smoke is hiding all the details. That's very good. I think if she left the line work, you would have been like, wait, what? This can't be smoke. It would have obscured our vision. This has to be something else. But no, we know this is smoke because it obscured our vision of the character. His eyes open more, the smoke moves a bit more, and we get these nice colors, which later in the animation we will find out is the potion effects. But here we just get a nice burst of color, and you get the blue coming in too. And these are just done with like different opacities. You can see it with the overlay here. It just makes it more intense. You get this purple, you get this blue, you get this red. Like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 colors in this, there's 10 colors in this shot. And I think they work really well. I think that's the most colors I've seen in a SAD-ist, like, animation shot like this. Like, yeah, of course, with the fully animated, like, fully colored one, you got more. But I think this is the first, and it works so well. I would love to see if SAD-ist could, like, get some of these colors into her, into any of her next, like, animations. Like, get some of these pops of color, because it works so well, and it, like, totally breaks up your eye. I think it's there to break up your eye. So you get this shape of smoke, but instead of, like, breaking up your eye with, like, negative space in the smoke, she takes these colors and she indicates the movement of the smoke without breaking up the smoke's main shape, right? You get this little break, but that's barely noticeable in the main shape. But I think if she added too many big gaps in that shape, it would have gotten confusing for the viewer. So this kind of like helps break up this big space without actually breaking it up. It's very nice. And we get another very nice curve, very nice. It curves around, this curves around. You get a lot more French curves. It's very nice. I love that. Then you get this is full opacity, 100% opacity smoke coming in. This is gonna be a transition screen because it is covering the whole screen. So we are going to pull out. We're gonna be pulling out. The camera is gonna be pulling out with a quick transition with the smoke. And we know we're pulling out because we see those eyes and the crown getting further away, right? So here's our plane. And we're pulling away. We know that's where we were. This is where we are now. We pull out. There's that same smoke color, right? That we saw before. Those are some reds. Here's some blues. And you get, and I love that she made Techno here pure black. Like, it is very cool that she made him pure negative or positive. It would be positive in this situation, wouldn't it? Usually black's negative, but this is pure positive space here. And everything else is more like negative. And that's very important. Like, his eyes are negative in that situation. He's also blurred, so you feel the ominous presence coming off of him. You know it's coming. Also here, Tubbo doesn't move. Fundy doesn't move, and this is Quackity. It's not Tubbo. This is Tubbo. When I first watched this, I thought this was Tubbo because of the axe, and I was like, oh, axe had importance to Tubbo, so this is Tubbo. No, this is Quackity. I think this is chosen this way. I think it would work if it was either Tubbo or Quackity, but I think it's Quackity because Quackity kind of like led he was the main force behind hunting Technoblade, so it kind of makes sense that Quackity's here. If you know about the Dream SMP, of course. But if you don't know about that if you don't know about the Dream SMP and you don't know anything about that, it makes kind of no sense that Quackity is here. I think it might have worked. Again, I didn't notice until like the 5th time watching through. I was like, hey, wait, I think this is Quackity. But it worked as Tubbo. It works as Quackity. I think as an outside perspective, it works better as Tubbo because of the axe, and we've gotten so much screen time of Tubbo, and the viewer feels more personal to Tubbo at this point. But they feel personal to Techno and Tubbo at this point. We have no personal with Quackity. But I think it works. It works either way. You don't notice if you don't notice. It's fine. It works. And then we get this nice shot with the smoke covers him up. And this is another transition screen. So Quackity's moving, and the smoke's moving. So Tubbo and Fundy don't have to move. And we even get like this sort of like shake of the camera. Like we are literally Quackity's head looking around. I love the camera shakes. I could go on for camera shakes, right? But the camera shake is kind of following the axe movement in this situation. You see the hints of Technoblade here. The only yellow in the scene was his eyes, so you see this cut. Also, the smoke cutting around the axe is very nice. Also, it gives this teardrop shape that kind of points you in the direction you should be looking when the next character comes into frame, without telling you the next character is coming into frame right there. Right? And that's very good, like, hidden, like, use. So you get this kind of, like, shadow of the hand. Very just... it doesn't look like a hand unless you're looking for a hand, right? Even the shadow is pointing back towards it, right? This line is pointing towards the hand too. So you're looking in this area and you see a shape pop through. You're like, uh-oh. Uh-oh. Death has come. Hand comes more, right? And you get these motion lines. And then just cuts to Techno coming through the smoke. Big rip through the space. You also get these lines, right? And these are more motion lines. These aren't mistakes. They're more motion lines to indicate that, hey, he's moving through space. And you know that he's probably going to be moving this general direction, right? Because it's where his body's moving. You feel his cape move that way. You feel his front body moving this way, so you feel like he's gonna hit you. You're like, oh god, I'm gonna be hit by a psycho pig. What the heck is happening? Getting pushed away. This arm drew back to give room for Technoblade. We get this nice motion, very nice motion. So as he rips through the fog, this pulls back, but we focus on this positive space. We focus on this positive space because now the smoke was negative. Now it's becoming positive. I'm not sure if we use those terms right, but this is how I see it, right? So we focus on Techno. This is pulling back. You're like, oh god, I'm going to die. Thanks a lot. But it's all also pointing to Technoblade. This is a very good, like, pose. I like this pose. Right? You get this kind of like angular pose, and his head is at the focal point, which makes it a lot easier to follow the other two action lines across. That's another thing. His action lines are very nice. Like this, the focal point is his head, but the action lines are his arm and his leg, so you point immediately towards there, or you point toward, it's very nice. And then you have the angles, right? So right, if you were going to draw them as angles. I love that. It's so pretty. Also, you get the red smoke again and that blue smoke again, which is a nice little, like, unifying aspect. You get the camera pulling out, being like, oh, you, as like you're the viewer pulling away from this because you're on a first person point of view. You're pulling away as he swings across. His arm disappears here, but that's just motion blur. You get this line to indicate it. This very nice facial expression. You don't even need that arm. It doesn't even matter. Get that arm out of here. I don't need an arm. Look, this man doesn't need an arm. He has this face. You don't focus on it. It's happening too fast. It's a motion blur. You don't need the arm in this scene. Arm appears. Right? Arm's not there. Arm's not there. It appears. It's basically that transition scene before this one. This one's a lot more. You have all these lines pointing in. You get Quackity's arm that was attached to the axe coming out to defend. You got this one pointing out. It's pointing back to the face. The hand's pointing to the face. The sword's leading to the face. You're looking at the face, let me tell you. Everything's telling you to look at the face, so you're looking at this wonderful, handsome face over here. No. You're looking at this face. I think the arm is behind him. Yeah. Probably. You get nice motion blur. And then SAD-ist likes to do this. She likes to turn everything to basically opposite color. Big swing. Big swing. She basically made this all negative space and these positive space. She likes to do this a lot, and if you go frame by frame, you can see this a lot in her other animations. And it just basically is adding to the impact, right? Adding to the feeling that motion's happening. It's very good, like, it's impact shots. I'm gonna call them. I think someone else called them impact shots. They're impact shots. Static, I don't know if you know what they're called, but I heard someone call them impact shots, so we're gonna call them impact shots. I love this camera jiggle. So you're coming across the screen, right? You're coming across the screen with Techno. You're over here, but she wants to bring you back to center. So what she does is she basically whiplashes you across the screen to this side of the table. It's like almost like you got hit and you're recovering, right? And then you come back to center. And that basically, in my opinion, that basically introduces you to Tubbo, Rambo, and Quackity, or Fundy, and Quackity real fast. Also, curved table, curved room. She wants you to follow this curve around. It's very nice and I love it. Quackity's here, which is probably why she had you be Quackity in the last shot. Showing that, hey, look, you kind of planned this whole thing. You're right here and and Quackity planned this whole thing. So last shot, you were planning this whole thing. You were at the lead table. You also get Mr. Beast Technoblade. I saw this. I was like, oh my god, it's Mr. Beast. But no, it's just Technoblade. It's just Technoblade. I don't know. The shape reminded me of Mr. Beast, so I was like, it's Mr. Beast now. Kicking it out of my hand. You get a nice shot to Phil. It's a long boy stream, and I don't care. Out of focus. Out of focus. In focus. Very nice. Right? Very nice. Got some negative space. Doesn't matter. Look, it's Phil. That's all that matters. I love this shot. There's nice foreground. So this foreground. Midground. Tubbo. Fundy. Rambo. Quackity. Phil. Background is the background. I love this shot because of the foreground glass breaking from the window. Quackity showing that he's leading this expedition to raid a citizen's house. And Phil being like, no. And obvious fighting. Right? You can tell from the body language. You don't even have to see the face to know, hey, this man doesn't like this man. Also perspective on Fundy. And perspective on Rambo. But there's not much perspective on Tubbo, Phil, or Quackity. But there's perspective on the rest of the room. So you're indicated that Fundy's leg is closer to us than Tubbo is. So I don't know if that's a mistake or if it kind of looks like we're trying to do perspective over here and then we kind of gave up. I'm not quite sure what happened here. Or if Tubbo should be more tilted. I feel like Tubbo's knee should be bigger on this end to give more perspective. But I think the camera is more likely in this general location. And you can even, I guess, yeah, it is in this general because the camera just moved this way. So she's preparing to move towards Fundy. So yeah, she's just avoiding drawing multiple shots. So that's what's happening here. So now you can tell that there's different perspectives. This is a night shot. Well, this coming up shot, right? So this is nice. Here's the blue, right? It's peacetime. It's hidden. It's damaged by blue. Now, I know it's in the underdress and he just gave him blue. But it's almost like Phil wanted peace or something. Or it's a little thing like, maybe symbolism. Maybe Ghostbur's a symbolism thing here. Also, friendship emeralds. And creeper skull. I love that SAD-ist put the creeper skull in here. This is really good. I love this shot, right? Tubbo drops the compass, right? And most people, I think, would have just let it drop, right? And just maybe swing back and forth. But he drops it on its sideways, right? It spins and makes a really dramatic twirl, right? And then it slowly goes back and forth until it eventually settles. But even the compass part is spinning. I think that's super cool. This is one of my favorite animation parts in and the part that everyone loves. But I really like this. This is very nice. Also, light framing Tubbo. Wow. Quaggy being happy. Phil being shocked. Lines leading this way. Focal point down. Right? Quacky out of focus. Phil in focus. We zoomed to Phil. We went around to the camera. Right? Camera's here. It went around Quackity to Phil, which is out of focus. In focus. Also, the particles in this look a lot like feathers. Dun, dun, dun. I love Phil here. I love Phil. I just like Phil. I'm not gonna lie. Just like Phil. Bright screen. We get nice lighting to direct you. We get the nice floor to direct you. You get some blur in the background. We get the ankle bracelet. Oh, and particles. We love those particles, don't we? This is a very hard color shift, but I think it works. Because it gives this kind of like... Because this pink kind of shows, I think in my brain, the pink in the animation shows the corruption. The pink and the yellow kind of shows that corruption, shows that sort of violent disruption of peace and everything. And you can only see this at, you don't see it in Tubbo shots, but you do see it at the start with Ghostbur opening his eyes for the first time. So that's very interesting. And then here you got Quackity. You get the same arcing motion as the houses. This is a peaceful shot because they're moving to the peace of Technoblade's house. Also, you get this nice shadow behind Quackity. You're looking through Quackity's perspective. You're hearing about... This is a nice transition because it shows that you're hearing about this plan, especially with the line, the plan is simple, right? Hearing about this plan, you know when he's looking at this letter that that's what you just saw is what he's reading, right? Because of his shocked expression, his big eyes, just context clues within the animation. Very nice. I like this light coming in. Very shows light. You got those light hitting. Now, in the animation, you hear the soundtrack, and that's very nice. And it clicks to the music, and you spin, and then it points to the name Techno, and also points up here. And this is I love this part. This is a very nice part. You get the light coming in, light hitting here, curving you around the compass. The compass is pointing you in the same direction Phil is pointing you. Now you know, context clues, right? This is the door we saw Phil at the start. So we can assume that up there is the anvil. You get the same wings, right? You know the same location. It zooms in, you're kind of like entering the balcony. So if I was gonna say anything, like this would be, there's some lore or character reason behind why Phil's eyes are more square shaped. I think it's more square shaped because of shape language. He's more of seen as like a stable, like guardian character. So I think it's more to do with that than like unstable like other characters or soft like other characters. He's also immortal. So I know Static, you don't know much about the Dream SMP lore, but I think that's mostly it. Like Phil's seen as a more stable and a more square shape character than Tubbo with the more circle and Techno with a more triangle, right? I mean, I draw Techno with a more square shape, and people kind of rotate between Techno being square and triangle shape depending how you see him. But Phil is most likely a square shape. I know I draw him more triangle, but I think that's because I want him more bird-like, and birds like tail feathers look more triangle, so that's kind of why I draw him with triangle, right? But I think it's mostly for shape language. But we get the same shot, and you can just infer that earlier in the animation. This is the scene before that. We get shot back to Quackity in that same sort of shot. So in the same colors. So you know this is the same time when he's talking. You get this nice transition with Phil's feathers. This is when he leaves to go spy on the Butcher's army when they're going to search for Techno. And you can see it here. This is one of my favorite parts. At first, I didn't know what this was, like the skull. But like after rewatching it, I'm like, oh my god, it's the Creeper's skull. So like not many people know this. If you didn't watch Phil's perspective, you have no idea. But if you watch Phil's perspective during this arc, he actually wears a creeper face and goes spies on the Butcher army when they're trying to capture Techno. And it's not really an important plot line, but he knows about it, which is interesting to see that. Yeah. So I really like that detail, and SAD-ist adds a lot of that in here. Also, we get some more impact frames, right? So I've seen this broadcast enough where we get this creeper face fills with broken wings, right? Impact frame. And then we get this kind of like monstrous Phil, right? Like he's angry. He's like, you're gonna fucking hurt my best friend. I'm gonna kill you. We get this next. We get like a solemn looking Techno, right? Very solemn expression. And this is on like a screen for like a second. Like these two frames are on a screen for a second. But this is a very nice silhouette. His eyes, it's like he's regretting what he's doing. I love this shot. It's very nice, very beautiful, very solemn. It's very just like, it's almost like, it looks like poetry. Like if poetry had like an illustration form. And then it even gets shot into Techno, closing his eyes, into this next shot. If there's no other way, then I choose blood, right? So this is like the shot where he's like really regretting what it's come to. That's like inner feelings, right? If that, the other thing was the inner feelings of Phil, this is the inner feelings of Techno. He looks up. We get this nice little, we get this curve. We get Techno cutting off this side. We get the trees helping you curve in. These guys are looking out. You're focusing on Techno. This nice perspective. Nice movement. You're going to focus on the movement. These guys aren't moving. He's blowing in the wind. You're going to focus on the movement. Here, Tubbo gets ready to fight. He looks angry. He looks tired. You get movement. You know from context clues that he's looking at Techno. He stops moving. So Fundy hasn't moved until he stops moving. Tubbo stops moving. Then Fundy moves and gets prepared. Then we cut to Techno pulling out bottles, right? Raising him the hair. We're kind of watching his face, but we're also watching the movement of his arm. Pull down. Impact frame. Again, SAD-ist loves these. She did this a lot in Dawn of the 16th. I love these because it's just the action lines, right? It's like a comic book or like a manga or something. And then it goes back normal and you get this red and blue smoke that you saw before. It's very nice. You have this puffed out of smoke. It explodes from the impact. Look at those gorgeous locks blowing in the wind. I love them. Imagine if they were longer. And this is the same shot as before. And it fades to white. Or this off-white color. And then you get the same shot, right? This is Tubbo on this side. Fundy on this side. Technoblade in the middle. Fades out even more. You get the slash that you had with Quackity, right? But instead, you're hitting Tubbo. So it just shows that this is a chaotic fight, in my opinion. It shows that. You get Tubbo panning like, oh god, I'm starting to regret my decision in life. Ask for help. You get another impact shot going across the screen with the curve down. Tubbo's body language is assisting it, and the little bit of we get from Techno is also assisting that kind of curve down effect. You get pushed up, especially with Tubbo's body movement. You can tell he's not good at fighting because of just the very loud movements of Tubbo, while Techno is very controlled in his movements. And that's kind of like indicates to the viewer, if they have no idea, that this man's a skilled warrior. This one has no clue what he's doing in his life. And why he challenged him, no idea. Maybe he thought he had numbers advantage. You get nice motion down, Tubbo impact, right? You get snow coming out. Tubbo looking shocked, so you expect something here. Because he's looking up being shocked. When the sword comes down, you're like, yeah, makes sense. Screams out. Camera actually zoomed out and then zoomed back in for the impact. So camera was out before, right? Zoomed out while it was making impact. Once it made impact, it zoomed back in, being like, oh, now you're cornered. So the camera was basically telling the viewer that this man's stuck. So you can make like stories with your visuals, but you also have to make stories with your camera movements. And you get a call, you know, this is Quackity, because that's what we established earlier on. This nice pan over where Techno was hiding Quackity and now he's not. So the viewer is now shocked, being like, who's this? Also, Carl looking at Quackity be like, what the heck is wrong with this man? It's so funny to me. Techno turn around. And here he's making a very loud movement of turning, which you want in animation. You don't want someone just to be like, oh, yeah, they're in the different direction now. No, you want to show them making that loud movement so your eye isn't confused. And he shows it again when he turns that sword, right? This very loud movement around. Down the sword. Your eye moves down the sword because it's long. You have this very nice movement line which connects you to that sword. You have those very curves. Also to the horizon line that's going to be in the next scene. And you're on Quackity, right? You're on Quackity, and you moved the character around. Real easy, real fast, and very well done. You get the same sort of movement that you got in that cross scene, right? You're focusing on the sword, and you're focusing on Quackity. And you fade out. Techno's not blurry. Quackity's not. You're supposed to be focusing on Quackity. You go over Techno's shoulder to Quackity's shoulder. So now you know you're looking at Technoblade because he has a very unique design. You know you're behind Quackity now. Then you get this below shot of Quackity with the horse. I always laugh when I see someone like threatening the horse in the animation like this. Like, this is not a way to threaten someone's... I mean, yeah, it works, but like, no. Like, if you're gonna threaten someone's horse, like, have a crossbow to the horse's head. I don't know. I just feel like this is like the least optimal way to threaten a horse. I feel like having an axe at the horse's throat is like the least optimal way. I feel like this is stupid. I feel like this is a stupid way to threaten a horse, and every time I see it, I have to laugh. He's like, I'll kill it, and the horse is like, yep, I don't know what's happening. I like this expression. Ears tell emotion. They're just extra eyebrows. They were up with shock, now they're down with sadness. He drops his stuff, which kind of follows his ear's motion, right? And the camera's motion. So the camera's up here. The camera's followed his arms and head down. And then the camera also follows the armor and stuff down. Phil's over here, watching the Butcher Army with his creeper skull on, right? So you got Carl, which is a weird, misshapen lump. You got Techno, and you got Rambo and Tubbo, right? They're in focus now. Phil's not. This is very short, but I think it helps. Phil, this is a very nice shot with Phil. I really like this one. Also, these trees look like wings, so you kind of like assume it's a crow. Ghostbur Blue. Almost like they're leaving behind innocence and peace on this tree when they travel across the ocean. Like innocent and peace is injured and bleeding out, like it's going to die or something. It is not looking good, you know? It goes back to what I think Ghostbur represents. I think he represents the peace of the server, and he's bleeding out right now. That's not good. He's very sad. And these shots are quick, so then this comes out of focus. You focus on the boats. You get the boats going across the sea. You get the color shift, right? You get this peaceful color shift into that yellow and orange, which was that like violent color shift that was like around L'Manberg. Like they were violent, like they wanted a fight, right? The chaos color. Get more of that, where it looks like a sunset, but compared to the north, it was like, these are warm colors. They're more like, they're more vibrant colors rather than the cool colors and the calming colors of the north. I like this. I like this perspective. I like this sliding. You only have to draw Techno once. You slide him over. Very quickly, speed up the process. You slide the houses over. They're on separate layers. Houses go this way. Techno and Fundy go that way. Phil's up here. He comes in focus. And also these lines help you to focus on him with the triangles. And these guys go out of focus. Also the shadows are pointing towards him, so that's helpful. The lanterns are also pointing, which are kind of taking up that idea of like dust particles. You get this very bold lines pointing towards Phil, which is very nice. The light, and he's contrasting against it. He's talking. You get a phase over. You get like a phase and down slightly. This is nice where Tubbo looks concerned. Fungi looks unsure. Techno comes into frame this way, kind of like up to meet Phil. He looks like he's coming up to meet Phil, and that's very nice. It's like, you know they're connected. Like, you kind of knew the whole time, but this is like showing you how much they care for each other. Also, this whole scene with the chain is real. I want to see it more. Like, I wish the actual thing looks so much cooler like this, because yeah, he pulls the chain. You get this weight that the chain's being pulled, right? Fundy gets dragged across the screen by the strength of Techno. You get someone coming in here, basically pointing you towards Techno in his fight to get to Phil. You get Quackity coming in trying to grab him. He's shooting up because you know Phil is up high, so, and they're trying to ground him. They're trying to pull him down, which basically shows you, hey, this man wants to get to that man. They might care about each other or something. You also get this nice like camera shake where the camera looks like it's fighting to focus and kind of moving with techno, trying to like get the best angle of him while he's fighting to get the fill. Cuts to white. And I like this shot. I like this shot a lot. We get this high looking anvil, and this is a very simple shot, but I really like it. I'll go back. This shadow leads you to the anvil leads you to the bright light, the rope leads you down. It's very simple, very minimalistic, very beautiful shot though, in my opinion. Get this radial glow. I really like it. And then when we do cut to techno, you're already kind of focusing on that area because the anvil basically told you, hey, look here. So you did. Also, you get that same sort of light source up here. So you kind of know where the light was coming from. And it's still early in the day. Like, this is where you feel like, oh, this is a Western. Like, I know a lot of people were like, feels like a Western. Yes. I love it. Also, you get the weight, and the camera moves with his weight. I really like how SAD-ist used weight in this. Alright. Camera drifts this way as he shifts his weight. And his hair. I like how SAD-ist used his hair. Like, the hairline's very sparingly. Like, you know that it's like this, right? But she only put 2 lines. So you understand what the hair is doing without like her actually drawing the hair. I think that's a lot of like mistakes for beginner artists. They draw each individual strand when you really just need to draw the shape of the hair and then draw a couple strands to be like, oh, here's the part, here's where the hair changes directions, and that's good. Send it. So with techno, you got a lot of camera shifts, a lot of like unpredictable camera. With Tubbo, you get a lot of still camera, like it's set up to a rig instead of handheld. Usha, microphone. Very similar to the fall animation. He very mimics Slat in this situation. Go look at the fall and see how Slat is positioned on the podium next to Tubbo positioned on the podium. You'll see there's much similarities here. This is a nice shot. Overlooking. You get this curve on the hill. I like them up here. This is a very good detail because I think this is forgotten a lot. Dream hired Puns to go and distract while he got Carl out of there. I love Dream's design here. Negative space. There is no line here. You shouldn't assume that there's a mask here. But the implied line of down here that isn't in shadow tells you that the mask is like this. It's very nice. Very nice work of like line and positive negative shape. Puns is in the background. You get this curve, right? I like that hand movement. He could have done like 1 finger or 2, or I like how he did 2. Like, go in, go on. He flips this, which is a pearl we learn later, but it also looks like a coin, like he got paid off, which is a very, like, he is a mercenary, so you know he got paid off, but now, like, you know he got paid off. And then he throws it. He looks passive, like he doesn't care about this. Very strong lines leading you to Puns, right? You focus on him, no detail on the other characters. Very nice. Those 3 potion bottles out. I love that. He goes from a very to base, no detail, to suddenly detail. So you're like, ooh, what's here? Also, the potions come down. They're purple. It fades to purple. Get this purple smoke. Get to Rambu. Rambu curls in on himself. You even get these lines, which basically your focus was here. So these lines basically pull you around to Rambu, which is very nice. And then when Puns rushes in, you're kind of already in this general area. So when Puns rushes in, you're ready for that strike. So you're probably not even focusing on Rambo here. But you're focusing on Puns when he pops out of nowhere. And he takes out a shield. It's very nice. Puns looks annoyed by the arrow. He's like, oh, fucking shit, what am I doing with my life? Love this Tubbo pose. Love the arrow. Love the impact. Love Tubbo looking that way. He basically goes from a hunched position to a leader, sort of in charge position to talk to Quackity, which is very interesting. I know I'm saying that a lot, but basically he's like, I know how to command, and I also know how to fight. I know all of that. I don't know, I really like that shift in character. Get Toa stops moving, Techno moves. You focus on Techno. Techno doesn't move till Toa stops moving. You get Quackity backing up. You get the camera pulling up here. Lever goes down. When the lever goes down, the anvil goes down. This is nice. It zooms in on Techno's face, and it even curves around to his eye where the anvil is. And it basically curves slowly as the anvil gets closer. Here's a Wilbur. Here's a Ghostbur witnessing the end of peace, or end of this innocent trap that everyone's in with Friend. He's wide-eyed to it. He's watching it happen. And I like this because you go from this very, like, the same color palette that you had in the north, right? This whitish blue, to the reality color of, there's violence happening here. And in this moment, Techno's not being crushed. Ghostbur's innocence or peace is being crushed by the anvil. Not Techno, the innocence of the peace is being crushed. That's why I think Ghostbur's a symbolism here instead of actually a character. He's more symbolism in my opinion. So he gets crushed. We get this nice shock of green. It's black. Get this impact shot of the totem. You get the impact shot of the green coming in. Get flashed, right? Green flash, green flash. And then they all meld together to give you this nice totem. But you did see the anvil crush piece. So I think that's very nice. But it doesn't crush Techno. It's basically giving Techno a different life, but it destroyed peace in the process. Techno, the totem falls. You start seeing Techno's form coming in here, surrounding this circle. And you even see, like, the backbone here. All of this is faded out, right? The green, the pink, and you see the anvil shape, right? This is very, I love these transitions. Comes up. This is a spine. It's torso, right? This is the gore, right? This skull, we saw this like months ago when SAD-ist was like, hey, I'm sketching Techno. We saw her do skull designs, and I remember reading a comment being like, wait, that's not a mask? That's part of his face? It's like, oh yeah. So this is where those skull designs went, right? Here's the particles of blood. They're just blood. There's gonna be skin rotating around him. I like how the green is stitching him together. You got the blood. I'm sure this will be analysis forever. Very good. Yeah. All the blood seeps into him. Very good. I love these kind of like stitch marks, right? Also, the kind of like he gasps and moves up and then moves back down. I love that SAD-ist incorporated that movement up, then down. Again, the weight sort of feeling. And then I've seen, yeah, so he's moving down now. I've seen this discussed a lot. His arm is stuck in the pole from regenerating. And then he does a badass scene where he pulls it out. The camera shifts with him. Shifts from the arm down with him. And he even follows through the movement, coming down to sort of this landing feel. So he even lands for a second and then pushes himself back up. So instead of just having a downward strike, he kind of have that curve up. Right? Puts his knee up, and even the camera follows that, right? So camera's up here, camera's moving down the curve, follows him down to a point, and starts building back up. And it doesn't even build up like all the way, like techno's still not all the way up. But it kind of refocuses. So it's kind of like techno coming back, right? So it refocuses, it kind of drifts over. There's some, like there's Tubbo here. And it's kind of like, hey, you should probably look in this direction. So it's making like forms go by, and it's like, oh wait, here's Dream, he's going that way? It kind of gives that bit of confusion of, oh shit, I should be here. Kind of like techno is when he comes out of revival. Also, Dream showing half his mask here and then turning is like, I love that. And you can even see it with the camera. So like, it's moving that way. And then with the camera, it's like, oh shoot, I need to recenter. So the camera recenters. And it's basically techno coming to his senses, right? You got Fundy. And you even have it coming back from down here and back up, following techno's movement out of frame. It's very nice. It's a very strong shift into direction he's running. It comes from this side, but there's something on this side, so it's not too jarring. I think it's still a little bit jarring. I think it could have been done better. Showed that techno was going to change directions. Because you're looking for techno over here, and then techno comes here, and you're like, wait, where am I? Where am I? But SAD-ist tried to fix that by putting light here, putting the horrors facing here, put some lines here, put the action. So I think it did pretty well. I mean, it could have been better, of course. You got Dream looking down techno, being like, you owe me a favor, idiot. Dream goes off the screen that way. Techno's kind of shocked. He's like, what the heck? Center of frame. Then we have the nice framing of the door. The horse is looking behind him. So you know something's going to happen behind him. He hears something. So you get straighter. So basically it was this, now it's this, and then it's going to turn into that. So it's basically curving you to meet Quackity with his axe, right? So now it's separating, being like, there is two people in the room. This person and this person. They're all kind of being framed by this doorway though. So it works. Techno turns. You see the strong turn. This is a very strong turn. Also, thumbnail. Horse's silhouette. Very strong turn. Blood still here. Chain still here. Also, SAD-ist can't do any animation without having these intense lines, can she? So when we do get behind Quackity, it's kind of expected because we did have such a strong bit of this curve, right? We were over here and then we turn. So when we're behind Quackity, we're like, yeah, that makes sense. Good job. We understand he turned around. So see, he's triangle. I like this perspective of him being small, but we're behind the axe. We get a camera shift over to the pickaxe. Very nice, very nice. The doorway, most of the detail of the doorway's disappeared. Now it's just light. We get Quackity rushing in, axe swing in, we get an action shot. Basically leading you, being like, hey, he's gonna be over here now. He's over here now. And then he's gonna swing that way, and you know he's gonna swing that way. But also, Techno's here, and his pickaxe is turning that way. So you're supposed to be like, oh, they're facing each other. So Techno basically switched places, right? So you know they're gonna fight. And then we get closer. This is a nice shot. I love this. I'm not the best to talk about fight choreography, so I'm not going to. And I'm just gonna let you watch it. But I love how we're in the foreground and they're in the background. It means there's less detail that she has to draw, and also we get this very cool, like, framing. Also, the camera follows the action, right? It follows the action of Technoblade. So we rolled this way, so the camera moved this way. He turned, moved this way, so we're gonna move this way. Impact, so it's gonna stop. Curves around, we're gonna quickly come around. We follow it around. I hope that kind of made sense. I don't know if that made sense. I'm just gonna let you watch it and see. So. Right, so we follow Techno, then we follow the axe, then we follow the pickaxe up into Quackity. But let's just, I really like this Quackity scene. So this is very, I love this perspective here, right? You get this nice curve, pickaxe, a line coming up, right? Very shocked face. You know you're supposed to be looking here. You know what's gonna happen. Then when this happens, it basically pulls your eye up and out of shot. Your eye probably has nowhere to go now. But it's gonna hang in this area because that's the last place it was with Quackity's face there. So you get this out. This is also a very nice shot I like, because she's done it where the blood is on a separate layer than the house. So the house is like, this is layer 1, this is layer 2, and then the background is layer 3. She's done it in a way where it looks like it's a 3D render. It looks like it's 3D, and she's gonna move around a 3D space with the camera. Just with blur and motion and like the camera movement. It's there. I would love to know, like, if Static, you know, if how the shot is done. But this is a beautiful shot in my opinion. Probably my favorite shot in this whole thing is that house shot. Then we get Tommy coming in. They're back in the peaceful, right? So war colors, right? We get war colors leading to the house, but it's still in this peaceful kind of color scheme. You're like, oh, it's still peaceful out here. It's fine. It's fine. And then we get Tommy coming in, so you're like, oh, who's this man? Techno turns to meet Tommy. This is a basic conversation. We're just meeting Techno at arm length. We're basically meeting Tommy at his eye level instead of Techno's. I like this walk across. Techno is moving slower. I think he's moving slower. I'll have to check real fast. I don't know what the speed is on this. I think the camera is moving with Techno, but the background and the shade here is moving faster. So you get this very nice movement. Also, this shrug adds just enough movement to this walk that it doesn't get uninteresting compared to the rest of the animation, right? Then it comes down. Very nice. Also, symbolism. He's been in light this whole time, through this whole animation. He's always been shown in the light. This is the first time that he's been shown in the darkness, and he's walking into it on his own accord. He knows what he's doing here, and that's very interesting. That's very cool. Like, she paid attention to, this is Techno's motives now. She knows that he's gonna walk into the darkness of his own accord because he felt forced. Now, if he was forced or he wasn't forced, that's up to debate, but very interesting that he walked in, that no one put him into shadow. He walked in on his own. Very nice hand swipe over here. Very nice Tommy focus here. Shadow here. Right? Shadow is creeping up the frame. Techno's mouth, but we're supposed to focus on Tommy's reaction, so we don't even care about Techno, we care about Tommy. Get a little bit movement from Tommy, so it's not too obvious that we're not animating every single frame. This is interesting. Intense war, violent colors finally open up when they push the button. Like Techno was hiding it away, right? Hiding away this war and the anger and the hatred and this violent colors that were used all over L'Manberg. Now Techno is showing that, oh, it's here in this peaceful place too. I've just been hiding it away. And Tommy screams, being like, oh my god. The Techno is showered in this intense war light with the wither skulls in his eyes. And like surrounded by this like dark peaceful color, like it is now, yeah, it was peace, but not anymore. And you get this nice pose. It actually mimics flats from Fall. And you get the particles, you get the nice curve. Love those curves. And then you get this very ominous picture, right? Really hot pink eyes, dark here, light here. You get it. It kind of reminds me of Dawn of the 16th, like in Techno's vault sort of feel. I don't know. This is kind of what I remind of. And then it flashes the green, and you get this kind of creeper sort of face, I think. And I think it's supposed to mimic Phil. I don't know, that's just a guess. There's no backing on that, but looks kind of like a creeper face. Or, better probably, it's the totem, and that's his skull, right? And it's the totem putting him back together. And then we get the title sequence, and it's right here. So when it cuts, we were already focusing here, and it's not that hard. You get this nice, very nice animation. Okay. So, yeah, that's it. I know that's really long, but that's just all my thoughts on it. I don't know if anyone would like to see this again, wouldn't like to see this again. Tell me in the comments. I really just want to, so going back to my beginning statements, right? So this is just my opinions. I tell things best in like I share my opinions better when I'm talking them out loud, and recently within live streams. So I'm just gonna pause on this screen, but we're gonna pause at the start. But yeah, so if you guys like this would be great. If you didn't, or if you'd be like, let's change this, that's great. I really, if people want to see this more, I will do it more. I really want to do the fall, but I know that this takes forever. I've been going for 2 hours. Good stream, you're pointing out a lot of stuff I would have noticed. Yeah, so it's, again, if SAD-ist is watching this, or someone that knows SAD-ist is watching this, and SAD-ist is not okay with this, that's fine. It's completely understandable. I'll delete it, no worries. It's a little longer stream than I'm used to, but hope that doesn't mind. It's also an awkward day, but I couldn't stream on Saturday, so this was my best shot, and I didn't want to wait till Monday, so if you want me to do more of these, tell me. This is completely out of respect for SAD-ist and her animations. I absolutely love them. They're stunning. I don't know what to say. I'm so bad at this. Ah! Yeah, so I did this because I'm terrible at writing out words. I don't like doing redraws, but I wanted to show my appreciation. And I know, like, you could just be like, oh, I love SAD-ist, check out SAD-ist. But I really, I know Static really wanted me to do this, and I've done the fall with Static before, and a couple people have been pushing me to do a stream or to show my thoughts on it. I was really scared to do this, to be honest. I waited like 4 months. But yeah, that's the stream. Star Wars AU episode 4 will be coming out Thursday. We get introduced to Space Bard, also known as Wilbur Soot, so that'll be fun. And that's about it. Hope you enjoyed. And I guess see ya. See y'all later.